Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're well. I hope you're able to join us this afternoon. I want to share with you one of the most amazing sit spots. You know, we were talking last time, which was 2 weeks ago because we missed last week because I was on holiday. We were talking about sit spots and how it's really important to just find that space that you can watch nature, a special place for you. You might not think again that these things are incredibly remarkable, but actually when you look back, if you have been sitting on a sit spot and watching nature and just doing that for, you know, maybe 5 minutes a day, just a little bit of time, you'll find it amazing the difference that it can make. So let me turn the camera around. Hi Jenny, I hope you're well. Let me turn the camera around and share this little sit spot with you. So we're in a wildflower meadow in a secret location in Weems Bay. And so this is a garden that's been turned into a wildflower meadow because the land was really quite old and undisturbed. And here, look at that lovely view. So we can see in the foreground, so sort of the slightly darker grey, that's Butte. And in the background, that's Arran, and the big peak on the left-hand side, I believe that's Goatfell. So you can see everything going on, and in the winter, Goatfell is often covered with a sprinkling of sort of white snow. It can all be covered if the weather's really bad. So I can hear, I don't know if you can hear the rustling of the trees. So up here, these are the trees. So these are sycamore trees, and they're rustling in the wind. It's getting quite windy. So I'm just observing where I am, I'm sat on the grass, and I'm just thinking, so how's your breathing where you're sitting? Hi Tracy, how you doing? I hope you're all right today, enjoying a bit of nature. So how's your breathing doing today? I think I'm a bit calmer because been in this environment for about 5 minutes, and it really does have a transformative effect on you. And sitting on the ground as well, touching the ground and the soil. So I'm breathing now, I think, quite normally. I've not actually got any. Has anyone got any niggles or twinges that they need to sort of stretch out a little bit to enable them to sit without their body sort of talking to them, giving them a dialogue? I'm actually feeling quite relaxed today. I've done a bit of yoga, so I feel a bit better now. So let's have a look and see what we can see in this wildflower meadow. And I'm here in this particular meadow and wanted to talk to you at this point in time because it's full of harebells. Now, for me, these are really special flowers. These are, some people call them Scottish bluebells. Look at these, aren't they wonderful? Their Latin name is campanula, and there are some blue flowers that you can buy sort of as commercial flowers that look a bit like this that are called campanula. And they appear from absolutely nothing. So basically they've got if we look down the stem, they've got tiny, really thin little leaves. Here we go, there's the bottom of the stem. Look at these tiny little leaves. So actually they just appear from nowhere, and suddenly you've got these dazzling blue points of colour in a wildflower meadow. And this used to be a lawn that used to be closely clipped, and these poor little flowers have been existing sort of in the seed bed here for years and years. Occasionally, if the grass was let grow longer, they'd poke their little heads up, and just a few were there, and they've been going like that probably for, you know, 30 or so years. But now this has been left as a wildflower meadow that is cut twice a year normally. They are everywhere. Let me stand up and I'll show you. So they've just done this on their own devices. There's been no seed, you know, no seeding, no wildflower seed bought. Brilliant blue. Our internet's going in and out a little bit, so apologies for that. But see, it's studded with blue flowers. These are great for nectar for bees in particular. So bees love them for this time of year. They don't bloom for that long, so they won't be here for that long. But while they're here, they're a sort of dazzling display of blue colour, and I really wanted to share them with you. So we've got blue and yellow in the meadow at the moment, and it constantly changes the meadow, the colours. So let me just pick out some flowers here that are worthy of mentioning. Here we go. So these here are common bird's foot trefoil here. Just see these here, and they're sort of shaped like a slipper. and that means that, I know we've discussed in the past, these are part of the pea family. These have got the most fantastic nicknames as well, so things like eggs and bacon, granny's toenails, hens and chickens. They're a great plant for the common blue butterfly, which is a species of butterfly that they're really trying to up the numbers of. They're doing a lot of work with the blue butterfly down in Ayrshire, and I'm hoping, with crossed fingers and everything, that maybe these little butterflies might find their way up here, because this is their absolute favourite plant, a really important plant for them. And also the speckled butterfly as well, it's important for them. So here, much bigger flower. It's just got its heads at the moment, and it flowers slightly later in the year. Mostly this is what we've seen at Belvoir, which is knapweed. So common knapweed. So that grows with a purple thistly head, and before that it has this sort of brown head. And that's a really important flower for butterflies as well. It's very important. So let me go and hunt some other flowers down. It's a flowers day today. It was National Meadows Day last month, so at the beginning of the month, sorry. So it's really important to try and preserve these meadows. So what the person's done in their garden is they've put a path in. I don't know if you can see that path. They've put a closely mown path down the centre of the garden, so that you can see that it is a wildflower meadow. It's not just somebody that can't be bothered to mow their lawn. And what's quite interesting, that often there are different plants growing in the shorter bits than there are in the longer bits of ground. So let's pick on some other flowers. Let's see what we've got here. See if hopefully I can name them all. So these little lovelies, they look a bit like buttercups. They're absolutely tiny, and that's what I love about a real wildflower meadow, is that actually when you get down really close, you can see all sorts of little flowers and little leaves that normally, if you're just flying by, you won't actually be able to see. You've got to really get down up close and personal with the grasses, and I suppose that's part of the mindfulness aspect of it, isn't it? It's that we're really looking closely at nature and engaging with it. So these little ones, I think these are spring cinquefoil, part of the potentilla types of flowers. They're absolutely tiny, look like little tiny mini buttercups. And these look like here, and the different types of these ones, they look like dandelions, but they're not. Here we go. I think these are hawkspits. There are lots of different types of these ones, and these are beloved by bees. So here, there we go. These and dandelions are great for bees, honeybees in particular. They're a great flower for the space in between spring and summer. So it's really important flowers. So let's have a look what else we can find here. So I'm just stopping and I'm just looking at some of the grasses. So I'm just going to try and find a perspective so you can see. Sometimes it's really hard. So just here, I think you can start to see the different textures of the grasses that are in the wildflower meadow. So an old wildflower meadow isn't full of flowers all the time. There's a mixture of flowers and grasses, and these grasses, they're moving beautifully in the breeze here. I don't know if you can see. There's a mixture of the coarser grasses and these really thin grasses, which I'm going to show you now, which are beautiful purple colour. I'm afraid I don't know what they are, but the most beautiful fine texture and purple colour. And the thing with a wildflower meadow is there's always something to eat, or something that does you good in terms of if you're into medicinal medicines. So I'm going to, over here, I think I saw some purple flowers. I'm just going to go hunting. Here we are. So here the grass is closer cropped, you see, around the edges to define the edges of the meadow or the garden. And here some little purple flowers. These are called Selfheal. So Selfheal by name and by nature, these can do all sorts of wonderful things. I think they're being developed for HIV and AIDS as a medicine, but also from helping with wounds, all sorts of curative livers. If you look it up online, there's a whole list of things that they believe that this plant little tiny purple plant can help with. It's been known to be a medicinal plant for a very long time. It likes short grass, and it's really good for nectar for bees and wasps and things like that. Shall I show you something that is normally considered a bit of a weed, but actually has great uses? Let's try and find some. So this is a Ribwall plantain here, and see this? You probably might find this in the garden. It can be a bit of a pain when it's a weed, and its leaves are very long with long veins on them going right the way up from top to bottom, and leaves that are like this tell us that it's, I don't know if you're interested, but it's a monocot rather than a dicot type of plant. So monocots are when the seed is all one thing, mono, whereas a dicot is a bit like a bean. You can split it in half with your fingernail. So they're two completely different types of plants. So the seed heads of this are really, really useful for a food for goldfinches. So during the autumn winter time, we have a big flock of goldfinches here now. Only now since the grass has grown longer, and I think it's because they're attracted by these seed heads and the other seed heads of the hedges they've been started to grow around here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and walk back up the road just as we're finishing, just so that I can move back to the sit spot and we can just enjoy the wildflower meadow together. I don't know if there's anything particular you'd like to see here, Jenny and Tracy. I think maybe it's only two or so people watching today. The weather's not as warm today, so as soon as the sun comes out, then the pollinators will come out. And here I'm stepping on, these are actually little heathers. There's two different sorts of heather, a ling heather and a bell heather, and that's a ling heather that grows on the moors up by Skelmerley, but it also grows here because the ground is really quite poor here. So wildflowers love it because they're not outcompeted by the grasses. So I'm walking, trying to mindfully walk rather than march quickly up the path. And then I'll turn round, and so we can just enjoy the last few minutes in this meadow and watch the grasses move in the wind and the trees. So the trees, some of the leaves are burnt, you can see. Can you see that? That's from the wind that we had right at the start of spring. Do you remember that, when all the new leaves came out and suddenly they were burnt by this wind? Can see all of the I could sit for hours like this. I don't know about you, just watching the grasses swaying. And I suppose, what do you think? Do you think that for me this place, this wildflower meadow, is an absolute thing of beauty? But I suppose, do some people think that it's just a lawn that's not been cut? I don't know. I just love these harebells. I really wanted to share them with you. So I hope you have a really peaceful weekend, and that you're able to take maybe a little bit of time for yourself each day to enjoy nature in whatever way you can, whether it's a pot plant or sticking your head out of the window to just breathe in some fresh air, or if you're able to get out for a little walk now that lockdown is easing. But take care, have a wonderful weekend, and see you next week.